And back we are at the All-Atlantic Region Track and Field Conference Championships. We're getting set for the first of two heats here in the men's 1500. We have a total of 13 runners, and let's run them down. Ryan Paradine out of Stevens Institute of Technology is the sophomore wearing hip number 1. Emil Nelson from Williams College, the first year, wearing hip 2. Peter Stubler out of St. Lawrence University, the sophomore, wearing hip 3. Jacob Byrne out of Rochester, the first year, wearing hip 4. Matthew Mullen out of Cortland State, the senior, wearing hip 5. Casey Frank out of Moravian, the senior, wearing hip 6, who right now currently in the lead. Daniel Lanahan out of Scranton, sophomore, wearing hip 7. Ryan Pena out of Ramapo, the junior, wearing hip number 8. Aiden Jackson from St. Vincent, PA, the senior, wearing hip 9. Logan Bettman out of Moravian, the sophomore, wearing hip 10. Number 11 is Rory Lieberman out of Lebanon Valley, the first year. Jake Eilmer out of Stevens, the senior, wearing hip 12. And Liam Sacanini out of Rochester, the first year, wearing hip number 13. Men's 1500, first of two here in progress. Here on the Northeast Sports Network, we're here at Lee Track at Williamson Field. And the top seed is Sean Hendricks, who I believe we may see in the next heat, with a seed time of 3:48.51 in the men's 1500. The overall record in this event set out by Alexei Selatelski out of Carnegie Mellon, and that was back in 2022 at a time of 3:47.65. Get some latest updates here on the latest times here for some of these runners, as things not quite updating just yet, but we'll get that for you here as we approach the 2-minute mark here and a couple of laps in here to the 1500. Okay, the Eafs have out one runner there. That is Emil Nelson, the first year, who hails from Portland, Oregon, right now in the back end of that pack, but still a pretty tight pack of runners here in the 1500. Emil just finishing second in the 10K at the latest NESCAC Championships, which were down at Wesleyan University. And Emil setting a couple of personal bests, like he did at the NESCACs. As now a new number 1 approaches here. That is Matthew Mullen out of Cortland State. Logan Bietman out of Moravian right now looks to be in the number 2 spot. Emil Nelson in the number 3, perhaps number 4 position right now in the race. But Nelson also setting 2 personal bests at the 2025 UMass Invitational, and one of those coming in the 800 with a time of 2 minutes, 0.28 seconds. And his best 1500 also coming in that event, and a time of 3:58.88. Nelson, a graduate of Franklin High School in Portland, Oregon, now looks to, I believe, jump into the lead here in this race. And it looks like Nelson is in the number 1 spot, as Logan Bietman out of Moravian has dropped out of the number 2 position.
Like to recognize the top 8 finishers in the women's 10K. Finishing in 8.
And Emil Nelson after 1,100 meters, a time of 2:57.23. And here comes Emil Nelson in the final stretch, making a dig for it too. Jacob Byrne out of Rochester, who is taken into the number 2 spot. But it'll be Emil Nelson, a first-year runner for the Williams College Eafs, and will take the top spot with an overall time of 3:55.13. And Jacob Byrne takes the number 2 spot out of Rochester with a time of 3:56.46. Ryan Pena out of Ramapo, the junior, takes 3rd place at 3:56.84. And Jake Aylmer out of Stevens takes the number 4 spot, just under 4 minutes at 3:58.81. And finally, Liam Sacanini out of Rochester is your number 5 finisher at 3:59.22. So those are your top 5. And again,